Hi everybody and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to be making a herbed crockpot chicken with a stuffing mix. To go alongside that, we're going to have some sour cream and cheddar cheese mashed potatoes, and for dessert we are going to have a chocolate chip pound cake. So let's get started. Now, this is one of those recipes. Now, in the written recipe that I have, I do it in a crock pot, but you can also just layer the ingredients the same and in a baking dish and bake it in the oven for about an hour, and it will be fine. But we're going to get started on, I'm going to do it in the crock pot. We're going to get started on making our sauce mixture. The first thing I want to do is spray the lining of my crock pot with my non-stick spray. If you have a liner for your crock pot, you can use that too. Now, we're going to make the sauce. We're going to use a cream of chicken with herbs. If you can't find the cream of chicken with herbs, then you can just use regular cream of chicken. But the herbs add just a little bit of extra flavor. And we're going to have 1 can of cream of celery. You could also use cream of mushroom. You could really use cream of anything you want, any kind of soup that you have or that you like. Any of that will work. And then we want about, I don't know, half a cup or so of chicken broth. I'm just going to pour mine in my can and kind of get all of that soup out of there, and pour it into this can and do the same thing. It's a good way to rinse out your cans and get all of it out of there. And then put that in the bowl. Then we're going to need some herbs. I'm going to use some thyme, about a teaspoon or so. You don't have to measure this if you don't want to. I like to put them in my hand, the dried herbs, and crush them up a little bit. That kind of helps release some of the oils and the flavor. This is sage, just some rubbed sage. If you don't have those two and you've got poultry seasoning, use the poultry seasoning. Any of the above combo. Think about Thanksgiving and what you like with your Thanksgiving dinner. Forgot my salt and pepper. You want to have some salt, about half a teaspoon, because the soups have quite a bit of salt in them. And some pepper. Measure that one with your heart. You know, I like my pepper. Let's just put that there. And that's it. We're going to whisk this together. This is going to be your sauce. Now, I have 1 package of stuffing mix. You can make your own breadcrumb stuffing if you want to, or you can just use a box of stovetop or whatever you have on hand. This particular one does happen to be stovetop. Let's cut that. Sometimes those little things can be hard to rip open. This one is the mixed herbs, but you can use whatever flavor you want. I'm going to put just a few of these, maybe about, I don't know, half a cup or so, on the bottom of my pot. Then I'm going to put on some gloves, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this chicken. I'm going to wear some gloves just for ease of television. If I was at home, I would not be wearing gloves. I would just go wash my hands, but it's a little harder on TV. So I'm going to take my chicken. I never put raw chicken on my cutting board. As you know, I don't do it. They say it's okay to do it, but I'm not going to do that. Now, I am going to take my chicken. Let me turn it so you can see what I'm doing. And if there are any little bits on there, I like to cut them off. You don't have to do that, but I like to. If there's anything that looks a little strange, I'll cut it off. And then I'm going to, this is very key, lay your hand flat, have a sharp knife, and we're going to cut the chicken breast in half because these are thick. If you were using chicken tenders, which you totally could use, then you wouldn't need to cut them in half, obviously. Lay that one in the bottom of your pan. I'm not sure what that is. I'll look at that in a minute. And we're going to do the same thing with all four. Lay your palm flat. Don't do this. Just lay it flat to steady the chicken. Go in the middle and cut that in half. You're just making it thinner is what you're doing. All right. Then we're going to put half of our sauce over top. Take my little spatula and kind of spread that over it evenly. Then I'm going to take some more of my stuffing mix. You see what I'm doing? I'm just really kind of layering it. Okay. And then I'm going to cut another chicken breast. Okay. Please be careful. Watch your hands. I'm going to lay this one on top. You can buy thin cut chicken breasts. You're going to pay extra for it, but you can if you're not comfortable doing this. And you don't have to cut them in half if you don't want to. I just, those are thick chicken breasts, so I want to cut them in half. Okay. All right. We're going to lay those over top. I don't know, that's just an extra little piece. Let me cut that tendon out of there and we'll put that in there. We sure don't want to waste it. You could use thighs, you could use, I wouldn't probably use legs, but I mean, if that's what you want to use, you could. You could use tenderloins. You could do this with turkey, would be delicious. Let me put this over here. All right. Now we're going to put the rest, I'm going to top it with that. So I'm going to put the rest of my stuffing mixture on the top. And then I'm going to add the rest of my soup mixture. Now remember that chicken is going to, as it cooks, it is also going to be releasing some chicken broth into the mixture. All right, spread that out. If you've got, I just have a little tiny bit of this chicken broth left. I'm just going to pour it in there. I don't want to waste it. What am I going to do with 1/4 of a cup? So just put that on there. Plug it up and cook it on high for 2 to 3 hours or low for about 5 hours, 6 hours or so on low, or until your chicken is cooked through. So I'm just going to take this over there, plug it up, clean up my mess, wash my hands, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to make a delicious and easy chocolate chip pound cake. Be back in just a minute. Alrighty, I forgot a key ingredient in our Crockpot chicken. In between the layers, like over the chicken layer, first chicken layer, you want to dot some butter or pour a little bit of melted butter, and then again on the top, you want to put a little bit of butter, either just little pats of butter or melted. So what I did was I just put about 4 tablespoons or so of butter just on top over there. So don't forget that. It is in the recipe, but I forgot. So we're going to make our chocolate chip pound cake. You will need a bundt pan. I'm going to spray this with non-stick baking spray, which is a spray that has a little bit of flour mixed in with it. If you don't have that, you can use just nonstick spray. If you don't have any nonstick spray, you can take some butter or even Crisco and put it on the sides and then take a little bit of flour, or in this case, since it's a chocolate cake, I would use cocoa, and just pat it on there or use the spray, which is what I'm gonna do. Now, over on my stove, I already have some Yukon Gold potatoes that I peeled and cut into cubes in my pot boiling. It just came to a boil, so I'm gonna actually turn it down just a little bit because I don't want it to boil over. Little quick tip, when you're cooking potatoes or pasta for that matter, take the lid off when it comes to a boil or it will spill over, and turn down the heat just a little bit. Okay, I have 4 eggs, 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil or canola oil, something neutral. You don't want any olive oil that's flavored. Some water, and I'm gonna mix that together with my little hand mixer. If you don't have a hand mixer, by all means, do this by hand. Okay, I'm gonna add in some sugar, about 1/2 cup. Okay. Then I'm gonna add some sour cream. I have 1 8-ounce container of sour cream. Pound cake is my favorite. I adore pound cake. I love it so much. So anytime I can kind of get a recipe into that pound cake format, I'm gonna do it. I like it because I'm not a big frosting person, and I like the moistness, but the density in a pound cake. I just love it. I'm gonna stir in that sour cream, just a little. That's gonna add some moisture. It's also gonna add a little bit of tang, which is delicious. Then I'm gonna add 1 box of chocolate pudding, instant chocolate pudding. I happen to be using the sugar-free kind, but you use what you have and what you like. I don't know where my scissors went. That's coming off easy, so just put that in there. This could also be cooked in cupcakes. You could cook it in a loaf pan. I just like how pretty the bundt pan looks. Then you just need 1 boxed cake mix, yellow. I like the ones that have pudding in them, but if you can't find that, don't worry about it. Just use a chocolate, or a yellow cake mix. I mean, you could use a chocolate one if you wanted, or a white one, but the recipe that I do has the chocolate in it, or the yellow cake mix. Mix that together on low, or you're gonna be wearing that. Get it incorporated. I mean, this really couldn't be simpler, and it is so delicious. And it lasts on your counter for several days, if it lasts that long. Now, I do like to have a spatula handy and scrape down the sides as I go. Okay, your oven needs to be preheated to 350 degrees. When you're baking, it is very important that your oven be preheated. I do it about a good 20 minutes before I'm ready to put my cake or bread or whatever I'm making, bread baking-wise, into the oven. I like to make sure that it's had lots of time to preheat. Now, I'm gonna add about, this is a 12-ounce bag. There's about half of it left. I'm gonna add the rest of those. These are mini semi-sweet chocolate chips, but you could use regular semi-sweet chocolate. You could use milk chocolate, dark chocolate, whatever kind of chocolate chip that you like. If you don't have the chips, but you've got a bar, you could chop that up and put it in here. The point of it is to get some chocolate in there. You could mix, you could use, maybe half milk chocolate or semi-sweet and half white chocolate, or the caramel flavored chocolate, whatever you like. Mint, you know, sometimes at Christmas they come out with, it's like an Andes candy type chocolate chip. You've seen them, the mint flavored. That would be delicious in here because chocolate and mint together, so, so good. So we're done with that. And again, you could do this in cupcakes if you wanted to. It would bake a lot faster. This takes about an hour to bake. I like to give it one final little stir, you know, getting to the bottom to make sure there's no flour mixture stuck in those little crevices of the bottom of your pan. And then pour it into your prepared pan. And again, you could do this in a bundt pan like I'm doing, or a loaf pan, if that's what you want. Whatever you want is fine. I would probably divide it into two of the smaller loaf pans. This would be a great gift to take to someone, or if you're going to a potluck dinner or something and you want to take something sweet, this is a delicious one to take because it really, really is very good. I would serve it with maybe some powdered sugar on top or some strawberries cut up and serve it with that. Or while it's warm out of the oven, you could, it wouldn't cut as neatly, but you could, not that I've done this or anything, hint, hint, scoop some out into a bowl and put some ice cream on top of it, like a warm, think a hot fudge type cake or a brownie that's warm out of the oven with ice cream on top. Just saying, that's really good too. So my oven is at 350 degrees. I made a mess, of course. I'm going to pop this into the oven. It's going to take about an hour to bake. And then when I come back, we're going to get our mashed potatoes ready. Our chicken will be ready. Our cake will be ready. And we'll plate it up and we will try it. And the best part, we get to taste it. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now our potatoes are done and I have drained them. Our cake is done. Let me show you how I would serve this. I would cut out some slices. This little thing is so handy. This is actually a little small sifter that you pull back on that and you get your powdered sugar in there. But I would just serve this maybe with a little bit of powdered sugar on top, or like I said, maybe some strawberries or some ice cream, whatever you would want. But there's your pound cake. Can't wait to eat that. Our chicken is done, but we're going to serve that with our mashed potatoes. So let's get our mashed potatoes done. I've drained them. You want some white cheddar cheese because, you know, we want the white. If you don't have any, you could use yellow or Swiss or Monterey Jack. You use the kind of cheese you like, but I like the white cheddar. And I'm really growing fond of shredding my own cheese. Sometimes for convenience, we'll use the other, but it's got a coating on there to help it stay separate. And I'm just kind of growing fond of shredding my own. Okay, that should be plenty. And if not, we'll shred some more. Excuse me, I'm still working on my voice. It's doing a lot better with therapy, but we still have a few little issues here and there. All right, here's my pot. with my drained potatoes. I'm going to put my cheese in there. This is so good. I'm going to put about 4 ounces or so of sour cream. I have not salted them, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Potatoes need salt. So we'll add some, and I'm going to mix it. Now, you might need to add, I got hung up over here, you might need to add some like heavy cream or milk, evaporated milk. I've got some ready just in case we do. All right, put my beaters back in the right way. Come on, you. Okay, what's the deal? There we go. I didn't have it in slots. All right, let's start mixing them. I like a little hand mixer for the potatoes. These are supposed to be very creamy and very rich tasting. And I think I will add just a little bit of heavy cream. Not a whole lot. You could use half and half, or milk, or evaporated milk, whatever you have. That's about probably 1/4 of a cup. Let's see where we are. My mama always used evaporated milk in her mashed potatoes. Yeah. That just kind of loosens them up a little bit. And I'll see if we need some more cheese. I love mashed potatoes. If you don't eat potatoes, you know, maybe you're doing low carb, you could totally do this recipe with cauliflower. Just use either the riced cauliflower that you've cooked or cauliflower florets that you've chopped up, and then mash them just like you would potatoes. Now, there's a couple of things that would be a little different. And I want to bring this up because I find there's a lot of new cooks that watch this show. Maybe you really don't know how to make mashed potatoes. Either use a hand masher or something like this. Don't put your potatoes in a blender or in a food processor, because what you're doing is you're activating the it's not gluten, but it's like a starch in the potato, and they will be gluey. You cannot do mashed potatoes in a food processor or a blender. You have to either do it with this, or like a stand mixer with the paddle attachment would be fine, or a hand mixer, a hand masher, you know, the old-fashioned kind, or beat it like this. But if you're doing cauliflower, you can do cauliflower in the blender or in a food processor. I, at home, oftentimes, because we do eat a lot of mashed cauliflower, I use my immersion blender in the pot to make my mashed cauliflower. Any of that will work with cauliflower, but not with your potatoes. You need to make sure you will have glue. I learned that lesson a long time ago, and I realized, oops, you can't do that. I tried it in a food processor. Doesn't work. Let's try them. Very good. But they need a little more salt. And I think they need a little more cheese. So let's grate some more cheese. Just a little bit. Not a whole lot. Just a little bit. Oops, wrong one. Here we go. Oh, is anything better than mashed potatoes? I didn't put any butter in them because you've got your richness from your sour cream and your heavy cream. But if you wanted to put a little butter in them, by all means you can. There we go. This was what is this, an 8-ounce block? This is extra sharp cheddar. Yeah, this is 8 ounces, and I've got about half that block left, so it's about 4 ounces or so of the cheese. You do what you like. And I just do prefer the white cheese because I think it looks prettier, but, you know, you do what you like. Don't take your mixer all the way out or you'll have mashed potatoes everywhere. Okay. There's our little block of cheese. We can snack on that later. All right, let's get our serving spoon out. And we will serve these wonderful little mashed potatoes with our chicken. If you wanted to, you could totally garnish that chicken with some chopped up parsley or chives. That would be delicious, actually. If you wanted to, you could serve this with a green salad. You could serve it maybe with some green beans or something if you want an extra vegetable. But here you go, a quick and easy crock-pot herbed chicken with stuffing that you can make in the oven if you want to. You can just layer it in a baking dish, there goes my mixer, and just bake it in the oven 350 for about an hour. Our delicious chocolate chip pound cake that you could also make into muffins instead of using a bundt pan or a loaf pan if you wanted to. Then our mashed potatoes, our Yukon Gold and cheddar mashed potatoes. You can use, if you don't have Yukon Gold, you can use an Idaho potato, a russet potato. I don't think red potatoes are the best potato for mashed potatoes. They're delicious roasted. I love them, and they are probably my favorite potato. But for mashed potatoes, you either need the russets or the Yukon Gold. Yukon Gold makes a great mashed potato. So there you go, some quick and easy recipes that are inexpensive to make and quick to make because you got Crock-Pot, and your cake you can totally make ahead, and you can have dinner on the table in under 30 minutes if you use your Crock-Pot that morning. Thank you for joining with me, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna.